Okay, the Hyper-V is already finished installing, so I'm gonna go to click start. Then I see a Hyper-V manager here on the desktop, so I'll click on it. Then this opens a window for Hyper-V manager. This is the name of my machine. There's no any virtual machines running, and this machine that I'm using is Windows 8.1, so we can install Hyper-V manager in the Windows 8.1. So first we need to start configuring some before we start create a new virtual machines. We can create a new virtual machine here, import a virtual machine, a Hyper-V settings, and virtual switch manager, and virtual SAN manager. So first we're gonna click on Hyper-V settings. So I'm gonna store the disks on that folder and the machines on the folder that I've created. Now if we go to virtual switch manager, we have a default our network card. We're gonna create a new virtual switch. So create a virtual switch, and this switch I'm gonna call it a LAN switch, and this is gonna be internal network. I can add VLAN ID if we have to, but for this exercise I don't have to, so I'll click OK. So we just created a LAN switch. Okay, the last thing, we can edit disk, inspect disk, stop service, remove service if we have any of these. We don't have any disks in yet, so we can create a new virtual machine. So no, I'm not going to import a virtual machine. Select new and virtual machine. It was off the screen where I clicked the virtual machine, so no, new, and the virtual machine is here. Okay. So I'm just going to put this back. Okay, this is the wizard that starts. For first time you really have to read these wizards. What they say is good, kind of that information that was going to help you. If you finish reading it, you can say do not show this page again. I like to keep it on. So click next. Right away I could have clicked finish and it would just created a virtual machine with the default settings. But I'm going to go one by one and see what settings we can add. Click next. Then the name of the virtual machine. This virtual machine, I'm going to call it LON for London DC1, because it's going to be a domain controller, and it's going to be 2012 R2. I can store this virtual machine on a different location, but the location I created before is fine for me. Click next. Then I can select generation 1 or generation 2. Generation 1 is compatible with the old Hyper-V machines. Generation 2 is only for 2012 and Windows 8. I'm going to keep generation 1. Click next. And the startup memory. What startup memory you need for this virtual machine? I'm going to leave it to 512, but I'm going to use a dynamic memory. We'll see this later on after we finish the virtual machine. Click next. By default, you can see that it's not connected at all, so this virtual machine is not going to be able to communicate with anybody on the network. But I'm going to choose a LAN switch, the switch that we created, so all our network will be connected with this LAN switch. Click next. And then the virtual hard disk. They already chose the name for us, like the name of the machine and the extension for the hard disk. The location where we're going to keep the hard disk, the default location that I created it, and the size of the hard disk. You can use the existing hard disk or attach the hard disk later, but we'll leave it to default here. Click next. And then operating system. We can install the operating system later. That's the default. Or we can choose the install operating system from Bootable Cd or Dvd-Rom. So we can use a physical DVD. My physical drive is G here. So if I use a physical, then I have to enter the DVD inside the physical DVD drive. In this case, or we can use the image file, which we will do. We can install the operating system from floppy, bootable floppy, or we can install the operating system from a network-based installation server. This exercise I'm going to use image file, ISO, and I'm going to browse for the ISO. Okay, I have selected ISO. It's on this location. It's got some Cisco ISOs as well. Now it's called Windows 2012 PART-2 evaluation copy, ISO. Click next, and everything is fine. Here it says just a summary of what we're doing, and click finish. Now the virtual machine is created. We need to install the operating system. So first of all, before we do that, I'm going to go to setting of this virtual machine and look at some settings. Click settings. I can add a new hardware if I want to this virtual machine, like network adapter. If I want this virtual machine to have 2 network cards, SCSI controller, add a legacy network adapter. You can look at the BIOS, the way this machine is going to look for the operating system. To boot from, CD, IDE, then legacy, then floppy. Here memory I'm interested on. Startup RAM 512. I have enabled dynamic memory. So dynamic memory is how much memory you would use when the machine is running idle. It's not doing anything, so that will be the minimum RAM, and 32 megabytes is the default, well, the minimum, and the maximum is 1 terabyte, but in this case I will use 2 gigabyte. Memory buffer is how much of the memory is going to be on the buffer. Then memory weight, how much this machine is going to have the priority over other machine on the memory. Click apply. Then I go to processor, and I'm just going to add another processor. Ide controllers, we have Ide controller 0, which has a hard disk. That's my default hard disk that I created, and the DVD drive ISO image, that's Ide controller 1. We don't have a SCSI controller installed. Network adapter, we have 1. Then COM1, COM2, and diskette drive, or floppy disk. Click apply. All done here, and okay. Now we're ready to start virtual machine and install the operating system. So I'm gonna click connect first, and then once you connect, there's a green icon here for the start. So click on that and we'll start the virtual machine. I'm going to try and resize it because it's going to go off the screen here. My resolution is very small for this recording. Okay, I'm going to pause the video and just get back, resume when something happened. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is tell the time and currency format. We can't change the language at the moment, so we just choose here to United Kingdom and click next. Now we want to install the this operating system. If we want to repair it, you click here, repair your computer. But this exercise, we are going to install it, so install now. Okay, next thing we have to do is select what operating system you want to install. We have 4 choices. We have a standard edition and data center edition, standard core only or standard with GUI, and then data center core only or data center with GUI. For this exercise, we're going to install a server with GUI. So click on that, select next. Then license agreement. Read the license agreement, well, at least once, and then accept the license agreement, click next. Then we have 2 choices, upgrade and custom. Upgrade if you already have other operating system installed, which we don't, so we're gonna have to use only custom. And then the drive, if I click next, it will format 127 gigabytes drive. I can create a different partitions. So if I click new here, then I can select different partition, how much I want to. But no, I'm gonna just click next, and then installation will start. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video and come back when it's finished.